Is your main character more like Superman or Deadpool? More like Sherlock Holmes or Thor? In this video, I'm going through the 5 major character archetypes, which are really helpful whether you're creating NPCs or PCs for an RPG game, or if you're creating main characters for a novel. Let's light up the forge. Greetings and salutations. I'm Janet from World Anvil, and in this video, we're going through the 5 major character archetypes. If you want even more information on this, I can only scratch the surface in a video like this, so check out the article in the description below. And also, make sure you stay until the end because we're doing a new thing in these videos. We've started introducing challenges as part of the videos as well. Hero archetype 1, the Everyman hero, also known as a dude with a problem. Is your hero an ordinary Joe? Is there nothing special about them apart from the fact that they now have a really big issue that they have to sort out? If so, chances are you're writing the Everyman hero. Famous Everyman heroes include Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games series, Dr. Watson from Sherlock Holmes, and Chief O'Brien from Deep Space Nine. In fact, and I love this little nugget of information, every now and then, apparently the writers of Deep Space Nine would have an O'Brien must suffer episode where they just throw terrible stuff at O'Brien because it's really fun to watch an everyman deal with bizarre problems. So an everyman hero is not special. They are just a person going about their life, even if their life is quite extraordinary. Bilbo Baggins is just your average hobbit. Chief O'Brien is a man with a family just trying to put in a good day's work. These people are not prepared for the extraordinary adventures that they are thrown into, and that is what makes them amazing to watch. So, what's tricky about Everyman heroes? Everyman heroes often need a strong shove to get them to willingly go on this adventure. They are hesitant, they are full of doubts, and that is not surprising. They ain't trained for this. If they're not given a strong shove into the adventure, they are very hesitant to participate with it, and they can also tend to be a little bit reactive, which is fine at the start of a story, but it can get tedious if it goes on too long. My tip with Everyman heroes is to show how they change through the course of the adventure, and particularly how they engage with the adventure, how their own motivations become wrapped up with solving whatever problem they are faced with. This gives them a sense of direction and it makes them even more compelling. Hero archetype 2, the classical or epic hero. Okay, so I'm rolling these two into one entry. They are usually treated as 2 because what's tricky about them and my tip for them is actually the same. So let's break it down. A classical hero is someone who possesses a great skill, like Odysseus and his cunning, or Harry Potter and his extra strong magic juju. An epic hero, on the other hand, is somebody who is born really special, set apart with an amazing power. Hercules' supernatural strength would be an example, and Superman, of course, the man who is so special he can do everything, including open tin cans with his forehead. Either way, your classic and epic hero, and there's often a blur between the two, is different. They are set apart from the herd by a unique skill or a unique power. Little tip on this one, if it's a classic hero, they often look like everybody else until their skill differentiates them from the herd. Whereas epic heroes, they're pretty obvious pretty quickly. It should be clear right from the beginning that your epic hero has some supernatural power that sets them apart from everybody else. Both classical and epic heroes can be tricky though, and here's why. It's called Mary Sue syndrome, and it's really, really hard to watch. So, Mary Sue syndrome, in a nutshell, is when the main character has no flaws. They are good at everything, everybody loves them. It's very hard to have sympathy with somebody who is perfect. So make sure you include flaws and blind spots and weaknesses within their character as well. Sure, they might be really good at something, but they should be terrible at something else. One trick that is often used with both classic heroes and epic heroes is to make them the underdog in one part of their life. For example, Superman might be whizzing around the world and shooting things with his laser vision, but Clark Kent is a much put upon nice guy who doesn't get the girl, ironically because his wannabe girlfriend is in love with his alter ego. I love that mechanic. I think that saves Superman for me. Harry Potter is another great example. Sure, he is a celebrity in the wizarding world and everybody loves him, and yeah, except Snape. Everybody loves him, but he has to go back to the Dursleys, who make his life miserable every single summer. There, he is the underdog, and that makes him a much more likable person. Hero archetype number 3, the anti-hero. No, this is not your classic good-as-gold hero, your all-American good boy with his underpants over his trousers. The anti-hero is the ultimate shade of grey. They might indulge in vices like drinking, smoking, gambling, and insert your own here. They might even be involved in petty crime or blur the lines of the law to get what they want. More likely than not, they are flawed, if not heavily flawed, and you can really dig into the 7 deadly sins to start thinking about what useful flaws you can use for your characters. Some of my favourites are selfishness, greed, and lust, because these are very understandable and kind of easy to portray and show. Great examples of anti-heroes include Jessica Jones, Deadpool, Han Solo, and even Professor Snape. Yeah, he's an anti-hero too. Despite all those gritty little flaws, however, the audience should still be rooting for this character. Often the phrase, "the end justifies the means," is used by them or about them, and they should be more a force for good than for bad within your world, within your story, or within your campaign. Anti-heroes can be tricky because it's hard to tread that line of grey. You want them to be edgy badass rather than all-out bad guy. Go too far one way and you won't get that grittiness and edginess that you are hoping for. Too far the other way, everyone will hate him because he's an a-hole. My tip for anti-heroes is, regardless of what they do, regardless of how you show them, whether they are player character, NPC, or main character of your story, have them save a puppy. Ruff. I'm serious though. Show that they are capable of kindness. It doesn't have to be a puppy, it might be a civilian, a child, somebody who is vulnerable, somebody who is in need, somebody who they absolutely did not have to go out of their way to be kind to, and yet they do. This instantly gets the audience on their side. It is a trick as old as cinema, and for anti-heroes, it is basically a must. You must show that they have some capacity for kindness and for good. Makes them likable. Hero archetype number 4 is the BYRONIC hero. Angst, angst, angst. Is he, and it's usually a he, woefully misunderstood, a tragic misprint, and railing against society in some or all of its forms? Or maybe he's just downright angsty. But either way, he's a force for good in your world. He may be a BYRONIC hero. BYRONIC heroes are often known for being broody and falling outside of, or even openly defying, the conventions of their society. They're also often incredibly intelligent. BYRONIC heroes are active and motivated, which makes them really fun to play or write. And having them rail against society is really useful for exposition on the society itself and the reactions when they go against it. Great examples of BYRONIC heroes include Sherlock Holmes, Dr. House, Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, and arguably Zuko from The Last Airbender as well. I love me some Zuko. BYRONIC heroes can be tricky because their broody angst can come across as teenage wangst if it is not handled carefully. Measure it out, try and break it up, and give it a good reason if you can. Which brings me to my tip for BYRONIC heroes. Usually, they have a tragic past. You can allude to it, you can foreshadow it, you can drop hints to it, but make sure it's clear that there is something in this character's past that has made them this way. In the mind of your audience, your players, or just your friends around the table, it will excuse the excesses of their broodiness. It will also help them gain sympathy even if they do something which makes them hard to watch, which they invariably will. Hero archetype 5 is the tragic hero. Things don't always end well. We know this, but for tragic heroes, it's usually because of their tragic flaw. This flaw might be their inability to let something go, ruthless ambition, or anything else you can think of, but it sows the seeds for their own destruction. That's crucial. Examples of tragic heroes include Macbeth, Harvey Dent or Two-Face from Batman, Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars, and both Ned Stark and Stannis Baratheon and a bunch of others from Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin really likes tragic heroes. Ned Stark is actually a wonderful example of how something which can be considered good, like uncompromising honor, is actually a tragic flaw in a gritty, hard, unfair world like the Game of Thrones world. He acts according to honor rather than common sense, and it's his undoing. Usually, though, a fatal flaw is something bad, like Romeo's impulsiveness in Romeo and Juliet, or BoJack Horseman's pride and selfishness in, BoJack Horseman. Tragic heroes can be tricky because they can be really hard to watch. You get your players and readers to connect with them, you do all the things, they save a puppy, and then you have to watch them go through this tragic downward spiral, usually because of their own terrible decision making. In fact, that's often why tragic heroes are used as antagonists or as rivals for another main character who the audience or the other players can root for. Tragic heroes, by the way, make amazing NPCs as well. Set them up as a rival for the party and watch them fall to evil. It will raise the stakes for your players, no freaking end. My tip for writing tragic heroes is to remember to foreshadow what is going so terribly wrong, which awful decisions are leading to their demise. And remember to give them a few good traits too. Sure, they're on a doomed path, but that doesn't mean that they're all bad. In fact, teaching them with good makes them feel even more tragic. You're going to pull those heartstrings of your players and readers, people. Yes. Whatever you're creating characters for, whether it's NPCs and PCs for role-playing games or characters for short stories and novels, World Anvil has you covered. Make sure you check out our RPG Character Manager, where you can detail all the stuff about your characters' past experiences, their mental history, their physical history, all of this stuff, as well as tracking health and equipment and stats and spells and character traits and all that good stuff. Our character world-building template is perfect for NPCs, main characters for stories and novels, and it's got extensive character questionnaire prompts about everything to do with your character, who they are, education, where they came from, all of that good stuff, to really help you build them out into somebody vibrant that will really catch the imaginations of your players and your readers. But it is challenge time! Oh yeah! So you guys were so positive about the world building prompts we've been doing over on World Anvil and the community challenges that we've been running, we decided to add prompts to our videos as well. So your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is choose a hero archetype, everyman, classical, epic, antihero, byronic, or tragic that you've rarely or never used before, and create a character in your world that fits the profile. You can follow the link in the description to fill out the prompt, and you'll be able to see other people's entries if they've chosen to make them public too. It's always somebody doing something awesome on World Anvil. If you're stuck with this prompt, make sure you check out the examples that I've given. For example, a Byronic hero example would be Sherlock Holmes, an anti-hero example would be Deadpool, to give you some inspiration for a place to start. This challenge will not only help you experiment with different kinds of characters that you may not have used before and expand your experience of creating characters, it's also going to help you expand a whole bunch of other stuff in your world setting too. After all, characters are absolutely a product of where they have come from. So background, education, family, culture, religion, all that stuff is going to be super important and formative for them as well. So, which is your favorite hero archetype to play, read, or watch? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, and let me know how you like the challenge idea. I really can't wait to hear what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, or if it made you think, then please give us a like. It really helps us share our ideas with more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more world building advice and World Anvil tutorials. Now grab your hammer and go world build! Superman, Superman.